it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Welcome to another episode of What Was That Live? How's everyone doing? How is everyone doing? It is Wednesday, May 8th, 11 a.m. Pacific, and I'm so glad that you could all join me. Now, let's get into the news, shall we? Well, first off, before we jump in, do you guys want to talk about anything specific? Do you want me to cover any specific news? Like, obviously, we're going to hit the major points. We're going to talk about Alina Habba, Donald Trump. We're going to talk about Stormy Daniels. We're going to talk about a new person that banned me or blocked me on Twitter that claims to be such a tough guy. But, and I'm sure we could talk about the Kendrick Lamar versus Drake beef. Whatever you guys want to do, you know. We can cover it all, but let's see. Is there any requests at the top of the hour to figure out what you guys want to talk about? If not, we'll just jump right into it. Hey, what's up? What's up? Hi. Hey. Yo. Hey. What's going on, everyone? Oh, okay. I do have an update actually. So last show, channel has been demonetized. So if you want to support me, you can do so right here at patreon.com/I'm Gabe Sanchez. Now, I did get an update. I won't be able to apply again until July. It sounds like middle of July, which sucks. So this channel is just going to be used obviously for posting videos, but obviously can't be used for anyone who is under memberships or was contributing during super chats or whatever. You can't do it on this channel right now. Maybe in the summer, maybe after July, once they go through the process again. But for right now, the channel is demonetized, so it's yeah. But if you do want to support me, you can go to patreon.com/I'm Gabe Sanchez. And over there, you'll see the videos early, or you'll get other content, or I'll do getting back into these Sunday shows. So, yeah. So, all right. So that's a quick update. Why it was because they said I was reusing content, which was my own content, but I'm using news clips. So it's bullshit. And it's incredibly dumb. So anyway, that's what's happening with this channel. I can't monetize it right now. So if you do want to support, you go to Patreon, or you can go to PayPal or Cash or Venmo or whatever you want to do. I've also got merch. If you go to store.imgabesanchez.com, you could also support me there if you want as well. Do you have anything like Venmo? Yeah. If you want to find me on any of the networks, payment apps like Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, it's all the same. All the same handle. I am Gabe Sanchez. You can find me at every one of those places. So, boom, there you go. Okay, I just want to quickly address something that I found pretty funny. There's a guy by the name of Mike Davis. Mike Davis is someone that you may have heard about. He's really gunning for that attorney general position. He's always the person that's on Fox News giving the worst legal takes. And look, I'm no lawyer, but I have a decent sense of the law when it comes to just certain practicalities or certain procedures. Now, again, I'm not versed in law. Like I don't have a law license. I can't practice law. But the fact that there are people that exist like Mike Davis are pretty shocking, but also not shocking at the same time. So that's the quick context. If we look for, let's see if we can find a video of Mike Davis. And that way you can get an understanding of who this guy is. Like, again, I'm sure that people have seen him before or heard of him before. Here's a video, which I have not watched, but here we go. This is from an account. It's from a MAGA account. So we're going to play it. And this guy, Mike Davis, is talking to Steve Bannon. And I'm sure it's going to be some dumb take about how he knows what. Just watch. All right.
Came on here and kind of walk through it. She's going to put them in the docket and say, okay, they're actually going to have hearings and motions to dismiss, which a lot of times it is to do with briefings. She's going to have a couple of hearings on that. Then she's going to end with the big kahuna in late June of evidence. That's there, which you've laid out from the afternoon in August. We're almost 2 years into this thing when you came on here and kind of walked through exactly what the conspiracy was. Now we're going to see that, but that's also driven by a federal judge. That's not driven by the House. You're also now in Fani Willis, you got the appeals court stepping into the action because they've seen enough and they want to have it argued to them. This is major 300 is
sir. Let's go. Steve Bannon.
Work with his oversight. He's uncovered $20 million plus from foreign entities going into it. Seems like every Biden family member's bank account.
Okay. We're still going with the whole Biden took money conspiracy, which, if we recall, recent news has shown us that this is not, I mean, we also knew this. Any person with two brain cells to rub together, you would know that this was not a true story. Joe Biden did not take any money. He was not influenced to peddle his power for money or things like that. You know, Hunter Biden didn't take money to then use to get the big guy, Joe Biden, to give him 10%. They have found no records, nothing, no evidence. And it's got to a point where every person they said, this person is an informant, this person's a whistleblower, this person's this, they've got all the intel, they've got all the info. Well, it turns out, surprise, surprise, that every one of those people is either influenced by the Russian government. One guy, Dr. Gal Luft, was on the run because he was an arms dealer and was also an agent of China. Did not disclose that stuff, but then they take these people at their word and say, these are the witnesses that are giving testimony that will bring down Joe Biden and his corrupt government. Well, anyway, again, we have found time and time again that each one of these people have been proven to be unreliable, untrustworthy, and also turns out that they are influenced by another country, China, Russia, whatever it might be, Iran. That's what's going on. So this is Mike Davis here. Mike Davis, who is the Article 3 Project. Again, he's always on Laura Ingraham's show. He's always on Steve Bannon's show. He's always brought into, I think he's also brought into Hannity's show on Fox News. This guy has no idea what he's talking about. Now, this is the context I wanted to give you for this that happened. So yesterday, he sends out a tweet and it says, here is my response. And the context to here is Donald Trump was saying that the judge is holding him, that he can't say anything. His freedom of speech is being held because of a gag order. That's not it at all. Donald Trump can talk about whatever he wants. Now, some of those things that he can talk about or that he wants to talk about have consequences. Like if you go and you attack members of the court, the jury, you talk about the case itself. Judge Merchan was like, you can attack me, you can go after my family, but do not go after private citizens. Do not bring them up. Do not discuss the case in that way. Do not use your voice, your platform, your spokespeople, which we find out Alina Habba did last night, which probably violated the gag order again. And so they came in yesterday and Donald Trump was like, oh, I'm being held. I can't speak what I want to say. It's a violation of my constitutional right, freedom of speech. So Mike Davis sees that. And Mike Davis, by the way, is eyeing for that attorney general position in Trump's cabinet. So he needs to figure out what he needs to do, just like Kristi Noem needs to figure out what she needs to do to say whatever to win that group over. And in this moment, Mike Davis goes, here is my response to any judge who attempts to place an unconditional or unconstitutional gag order on me. Fuck you. Now, here's the thing. It's not unconstitutional. Judge Merchan has given Donald Trump a ton of slack. He let him say a lot of stuff. And it wasn't until recently did Judge Merchan say, okay, there are these violations that have been brought to my attention. We're going to go by one. You have been fined $1,000 per violation. The next time we meet, which I hope we don't, and that you learn your lesson, because it's like talking to a child when it comes to Donald Trump. The next time we're going to discuss jail time or like being held in contempt. There was another series of gag order violations that have been submitted that they were going to look at again. And that was the one that happened this week. So then what we see is that Merchan was like, look, man, this is your last warning. Okay. Final warning. I warned you. We had a meeting on this. I fined you. I warned you again. And then you did it. And then you did it again. And now I'm telling you right now, if you do it again, you're going to be held in contempt. Mayor Eric Adams was like, yo, we're setting up Rikers just in case Donald Trump violates his gag order. We got a special place set up for this guy. Which, if there was any mayor of any city where your contempt charges would be held, anyone would do that, especially when you remember that a ton of Republicans were telling governors and attorney generals on state levels to go and sue Joe Biden for all of the things that Mike Davis was claiming in the previous clip, which is he took all this money and this and that, but no one has any proof. No one has any proof. And I just want to point out again that the reason that Donald Trump is on trial and has been indicted in every other one of these cases is because a grand jury has assessed the evidence and listened to witness testimony and came to a conclusion on their own. Multiple different indictments, multiple different grand juries, separate jurisdictions, separate people, no crossover, no communication. Just want to remind people that it's not Joe Biden, it's not the Justice Department, it is independent citizens who are doing their job on a grand jury. Just like the people who were who are in the jury for this case right here. So Mike Davis decides he wants to act tough. He's a big tough guy. And he says, here is my response to any judge who attempts to place an unconstitutional gag order on me. Fuck you. And then he had some other part that I can't read now because he blocked me. But I wrote, and I quote tweeted, and I said, oh, MAGA Mike Davis is trying to act tough. I guarantee he would never say anything to a judge. That's the truth. Anyone who has a law license or has the ability to practice law would never do that. That is the dumbest way to find yourself with a shit ton of fines in the bad eye or perspective of any judge in that district or in that state or in the country, depending on what you say. Then the idea that he would potentially put himself at risk of going to prison or being held in contempt and going to jail. No, he's not going to do that. No lawyer, again, with two brain cells to rub together, would ever do that. You would never put your license at risk, because at that point, you could then have someone on the other side say, this guy is out of control. Like, this is no way to handle yourself in court. I want to submit a petition to the Bar Association to review this guy's law license, because clearly he is not a good representation of what we practice. So that is what happens there. And then today, for some reason, I was looking something up, and then I was going through my feed and I saw like, oh, this person's tweets are limited on who can see them. And I was like, whoa, did he go private or what happened? Well, turns out Mike Davis blocked me, all because I said he was acting like a tough guy. And here we are, Mike Davis proving my point, literally proving my point. And this goes to a much larger theme within the MAGA umbrella, which is Republicans MAG Republicans, whatever. I mean, they're all under the same group now. If you're not pulling yourself away, if you are a Republican and you are not pulling yourself away from that camp to say, I'm independent, I'm a Democrat, or whatever it might be. If you're not distancing yourself from the group that claims to be the GOP, which has been totally overtaken by crazy people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Paul Gosar, Matt Gaetz, Lauren Boebert. These are not serious people. Thomas Massey. These are people who work on clout. They don't work for the American people. They just work on clout. They just want credit for the first one to impeach Joe Biden. I mean, look at what Marjorie Taylor Greene said to Lauren Boebert on the House floor. She called her a little bitch because she got credit for submitting articles of impeachment against President Biden, which is funny because the first time that Lauren Boebert wanted to impeach Joe Biden, she couldn't spell impeachment right. She said impeachment, and she said impeach in an email that she sent out to a bunch of her supporters. So when you see people like Mike Davis in the Republican Party, which is MAGA, again, if you're not distancing yourself and saying, I'm not part of that, that's not my Republican Party, and you're not breaking away to be an independent or vote with Democrats to remove MAGA and Donald Trump, then you're part of the same group. There's nothing different about you. If you don't speak up and say something, then they're no different. So you are MAGA. So Mike Davis here is a great example of how MAGA responds to any sort of criticism, any sort of feedback, any sort of fact checking, any sort of information that would prove them wrong. And here is an example of me just, quote tweeting. That's all it is. It's just a quote tweet. I didn't say anything bad. I just said he was cosplayer. I said he was pretending, is trying to act tough. I said, oh, MAGA Mike Davis is trying to act tough. I guarantee he would never say anything back to a judge. And then he blocked me. Like, I didn't say anything mean to him. I didn't swear. I didn't have to use profanity. I didn't have to go after, use some ad hominem attack against Mike Davis. I just said he's trying to act tough. And that's what he was doing. And then he blocked me. And it just proves my point. It just proves my point even more, that when it comes to facts and criticism and actual truth, okay? The Republican Party loves to talk about, oh, we're, truth to power. I'm speaking the truth. Well, watch what happens. This guy wants to be the attorney general, and he cannot take a quote tweet that I said he tried to act tough. It's really impressive. Honestly, there's no other way to look at it. The ability for Mike Davis to have such thin skin, which also is a great representation or example of the people that Donald Trump wants in his circle. These people are gross, vile, disgusting, dehumanizing, but also they are thin-skinned. Because to give you a good idea of who Mike Davis is, Mike Davis, he joked about, if I can find it. Let me see if I can find this. He was talking to there was a video he had recently where he talked about locking kids in cages because that's so funny. Fuck, where was it on? Where was he talking to? There was an interview he did. If someone can find it, if someone can search Twitter right now and find it, let me know. But there's an interview where he's joking about locking kids up in cages. He's joking about separating families. And I don't think it was with Stephen Miller. I'm trying to remember who it was with. But the point is, Mike Davis will use any opportunity to make fun of anyone who's different than him. And this includes people who are not white, because Mike Davis is a racist. And Mike Davis can prove me wrong if he would unblock me. But yes, Mike Davis is a racist and is thin-skinned and cannot handle any sort of criticism. So, yeah, and this is a separate note. They joked about Pelosi getting hammer attacked on Fox today. Yeah, these are people who, it's crazy because these are the same people that will say, let's talk about Hunter Biden and all the naked photos and all the women he slept with and all the things he did. And as soon as Donald Trump is in court and Stormy Daniels is able to speak up and say, yes, it was a brief encounter. We did have sex. I do not. I was scared at the time. I was threatened later on. I was paid hush money. As soon as these things are brought up in a court setting under oath, Fox News has they blow a gasket. They get so upset. But these are the same people that are going to make fun of someone's addiction and then try to criticize them for being naked or doing drugs or whatever it might be, right? These are the same people who will criticize that person or others and then not be willing to take that in on the person that they follow, which is their cult leader. Now, okay, somebody said it was Mike Davis and Charlie Kirk. Okay, let me see if I can find this really quick. If I can find it. Is it this one? Let's see. Sorry, I'm just looking to see if I can find this clip. No, that's not it. Oh, man. If someone can find it, you can send it the link in here. I can't. No. All right. I'll look for it later. Regardless, there is a clip, a conversation. Maybe it's with Charlie Kirk. That's what people are saying in the chat. But I do remember specifically where they joke about locking kids up in cages and doing this to people. And it's gross. It's gross because, look, man, these people are seeking asylum and they're looking for a better life. And, America is supposed to be the land of opportunity, the land of the free, the land, the place in which you can seek a better life, right? And as soon as those people attempt to come to this country, do so legally, whatever it might be, they get judged for it, right? You don't look like them. You don't act like them. You're different, so you don't belong. That's how Mike Davis and the rest of the MAGA crew think. It's evil. It's gross. It's part of Project 2025. It's exactly what Donald Trump and his group wants to have in place. And the person to help do it is Mike Davis, the guy who can't take a fucking joke. Which, again, did not even say anything vulgar. Did not even use any profanity. All right, so let's look at what's going on. There's obviously Stormy Daniels. Now, we're going to cover this because this was quite a fucking day. Here we go. Here's Sean Hannity, plain victim.
Every American Jews.
It says, Sean Hannity claims Stormy Daniels was challenged as a witness to humiliate and embarrass Donald Trump. Trump humiliated and embarrassed himself, but of course, Ultra MAGA Hannity is going to blame the woman. It's very on brand, which of course, we all know this to be true. I mean, even Fox News, who has a long history and pattern of abuse, sexual abuse, and sexual harassment against women, it's not surprising that Sean Hannity is coming in here to now blame a woman that was involved. Now, here's the thing that people need to understand. You can't take away from the fact that there was a sexual encounter and agreement that was between these two people. Donald Trump has acknowledged it. He said it was a lie. Okay, let's just go all the way back to 2015, 2016. Donald Trump said this never happened. He said it was a lie. He said that Karen McDougal never happened. It was a lie. It was all this stuff. I never met this person. I never met. Sound familiar? It sounds like when he said it, I never met E. Jean Carroll, yet there are photos with him and E. Jean Carroll. So the idea that he can claim I never met this person, I never spoke to this person, we never had this encounter is complete BS. The story has been told multiple times again and again and again, and has been corroborated on many accounts. Okay, even a story that you told yesterday, Donald Trump would call her while she was on set. They would put him on speakerphone and laugh at him. She would walk away. So there's actually an article, which I think is a Night with Stormy Daniels, that was written by the Rolling Stone or by Rolling Stone. And she talked about in there, she's like, yeah, he would call me incessantly. Like he would talk. I would put my phone on mute. I would walk away and go work. And then I would come back and he'd still be talking. That is Donald Trump. The guy is completely obsessed with himself. He's a egotistical sociopath who only cares about himself, which I'm also, side note, the whole thing that Donald Trump brought up about, oh, I can't go to Barron's graduation. I've been looking for it for years. It's not. I will double check in a second, but I think I just read not too long ago that he has a Minnesota campaign event planned for May 17th, which was that Friday that he was supposed to be at the graduation. So in a week and some change, Donald Trump was supposed to be at the graduation, made a whole big huff and puff about how he couldn't attend. And now it sounds like he's going to be in Minnesota for a campaign event. So we knew this would happen. We knew he was lying. Anyway, that just gives you some context as to if he's going to lie about trying to attend his own son's graduation, just think of what that means for this case. And think of what that means for the account that he's giving about Stormy Daniels, because he's had to acknowledge it. And then he said, it's old news. It's history. It's not new. It's not what you guys think it is. The guy slept with Stormy Daniels. It has been corroborated. She has proof. She has messages. She has contact info for security, for Donald Trump's staff. Like, you don't just find this stuff and then put it in your phone, especially when you cross-reference records of the people that she claims to have information with. And then it was turned out to be true. So Sean Hannity here is blaming the woman, even though Donald Trump is looking in a pretty bad spot right now.
Who's there to humiliate and embarrass Donald Trump.
Okay, look. She didn't go there just for the purpose of humiliating and embarrassing him. That was just a byproduct of her telling the story. She said under oath, she was asked the question, do you hate Donald Trump? She said, yeah, I hate Donald Trump. Do you want to see him go to do you want to see him go to jail? She goes, if he's held accountable for the acts that he did. If he's proven guilty, a jury finds him guilty and he goes to jail, then so be it. That's not on me. So their whole defense is always going to be, it's Stormy Daniels. She's lying. She's making everything up, even though Donald Trump has acknowledged it. And everything that she says is a lie. But it's not working out as planned.
They want to, if they could, they would like to keep Donald Trump in a courtroom for the next 180 days so he cannot campaign. Jesus Christ, man. Look, at the end of the day, it really comes down to this. Every single person that you have seen associated with Donald Trump, you got Jeffrey Clark, who was pulled out with no pants. All he had was boxers on in his driveway when the FBI searched his home. Rudy Giuliani had his penthouse searched. You've got every other person that has been indicted or brought in with him, Sidney Powell. All of these people are people that walked into a situation and they all knew what Donald Trump was and what he represented and what he did on many accounts. But each time they kept associating themselves with this and they find themselves in trouble. It's not new. And Sean Hannity is like, they want to keep him in jail. They want to keep him in court for 180 days. Well, it really comes down to this. And this is a tip for every other MAGA Republican out there. If you don't want to, have to do the time, then don't do the crime. It's really that easy. Don't commit a crime. Don't try to overthrow the government. Don't try to overturn an election. Don't try to plan a coup. Don't try to pay off Stormy Daniels and then try to write it off and say it was a business expense, even though it wasn't, only because you did it because you found out that this was going to be used against you when you're running in 2016. If you don't want this stuff to be used against you, then don't do it. It's that simple. Don't crime. Just don't do it. Just don't crime. I don't know how I don't know how basic I have to explain this. If you don't want to have to do the time or do the consequences for said crime, then don't do it in the first place. If you don't want people asking you about why you lied about Kim Jong-un, then don't write about it in a book and don't narrate it. If you don't want people saying you killed a puppy, don't write about it in a book. And don't try to write about it in the first book and then get killed on the story and then try to write it again in the second book. This is MAGA. They are dumb. They do not think that consequences or punishment is going to come for them. They think, I can kill a puppy, I can kill a goat, I can kill some horses, I can pay off a porn star and say that it was a business expense, even though it was done to influence the election, so people would not think that I was a bad person. It's really that. It's that simple. Do not do the crime if you don't want to be held accountable for doing said time. It's not that hard. So basically the account that's also being told here is that Stormy Daniels, the most alert that Donald Trump has been was yesterday when Stormy Daniels was in. Oh, right. It was Benny Johnson. Okay, sorry. Really quick. Hold on. If I could only spell. Mike Davis, Benny Johnson. Here we go. Hold on. I know the clip exists because I watched it.
There are going to be consequences when President Trump is back in the White House on January 20th, 2025.
So that was the first part of it. And there's another part. Sorry, I saw someone who wrote that. Yes. Circuit Boy Scott. Thank you so much. It was Benny Johnson. That's right. So in this interview that he has, if I can find another one, hold on. We'll go here because this is the clip. All right, this is Media Matters, who, if you don't follow Media Matters, you should, because they do a lot of great work. This is the clip that I was talking about earlier. This is just I just want to give you an example of the guy that blocked me, the guy that wants to be attorney general, the guy that is pimping Donald Trump, along with Benny Johnson over here, who has the worst political takes of all time, but it is what it is. This is the guy that said he wanted to, they joked about it. Just listen.
Mike, I've never called for lava to rain down from the heavens, but maybe upon Washington, D.C., would you be that sweet red hot lava for us?
I've never been called sweet, and you call me Sweet Ginger. So I think I meant then. But during my 3-week reign of terror as Trump acting attorney general, before I get chased out of town with my Trump pardon, I will rain hell on Washington, D.C. We've talked about this, Ben. I have 5 lists ready to go, and they're growing. List number 1, we're going to fire. We're going to fire a lot of people in the executive branch, the deep state. Number 2, we're going to indict. We're going to indict Joe Biden and Hunter Biden in jail.
Under what? Again, Republicans, MAGA are all, their whole platform is vengeance. It's hatred and vengeance. And he's going to go through this list, and it's going to be, we have a list of people that we're going to go after. We have a list of people we're going to indict. If you have evidence, then bring it. I mean, Jared Moskowitz has brought forward that same statement and same demand of every single Republican that's on the oversight committee, and says, let's do it now. Let's vote on an impeachment. Let's do it. And every single time he doesn't do it. And now James Comer is like, let's stop talking about this, guys. I don't want to talk about it anymore, because you have no evidence. If you have it, indict him. Bring it forward.
James Biden and every other scumball, sleazeball Biden, except for the 5-year-old granddaughter who they refused to acknowledge for 5 years until the political pressure got to Joe Biden. Number 3, we're going to deport. We're going to deport a lot of people, 10 million people and growing, anchor babies, their parents, their grandparents. We're going to put kids in cages. It's going to be glorious. We're going to detain a lot of people in the DC Gulag and Gitmo. And list number 5, I'm going to recommend a lot of pardons. Every January 6th defendant is going to get a pardon, especially my hero Horn Man. He is definitely at the top of the pardon list.
We actually went out and have some upcoming content with Jacob Chansley. We did a podcast interview with him.
Jacob Chansley, which, by the way, I don't want to skip over the fact that he said what I just previously said, is he wants to put people in cages. He wants to deport them. And he could be like, oh, I was just joking. You guys can't hear my tongue-in-cheek, my tongue-in-cheek comments. No, because we all know that even though you might smile while you say it, you really mean it. And this isn't a joke. This is you trying to do as many things as you can before you get pushed out, assuming that Donald Trump were to become the president and Mike Davis were to be assigned or brought on as attorney general. Now, the thing that I want to point out here is Benny Johnson. And let's go back.
Content with Jacob Chansley. We did a podcast interview with him. Went out.
Jacob Chansley, horn dude, right? Stormed the Capitol, all the tattoos, looked like he was going to some sort of like Coachella Fest or something like that, or like EDM Fest in Las Vegas, right? Look, that guy is clinically insane. I am not joking. I have listened to him do multiple Twitter spaces where he has talked about the most insane conspiracies imaginable. The QAnon shaman is, again, fucking nuts. He is insane. Jacob Chansley is his real name. The QAnon shaman is what you know him as, the horn guy with the fur and all that stuff. Looks like a Pepsi sign drawn on his face. That guy. That's the guy, Jacob Chansley, that they're talking about right now. Oh, we did some great content. We had him on the podcast. I'm going to pardon him. These people are fucking nuts. This is the group that wants to pardon Jan 6ers, that wants to ban porn. They want to remove every sort of contraception. They want to make sure that there was never a possibility of getting an abortion, even if the mother's life is at risk. These are the people who want to have Trump in place, and these are the people who want to have these crazy, fascistic, extreme, right-wing, inhumane policies in place. This is what we're looking at. These are the people that have Donald Trump's ear. You think that Donald Trump comes up with these things on his own? No. He hears it enough times. Then he sees people talk about it. Then he hears them talk about it. I mean, look at what happened with Tom Fitton. Tom Fitton said what Donald Trump should do on TV, which was, don't give the documents back. They're your documents. You own them. The government doesn't get them. They were yours. They're yours. They're yours. And then what happens is Donald Trump goes, well, I'm never going to give them back. I'm going to lie about giving them back. I'm going to tell everyone I gave them back. And there's footage of us trying to move the boxes while they're searching for the boxes at Mar-a-Lago. The idea that this guy is listening to these types of people should keep you on high alert. This is why you need to vote. And you can have your calls like, I don't like Joe Biden. Okay, well, great. Well, this is what you got to understand. If you have 4 years of Donald Trump or 4 years of RFK Jr., I have a worm in my brain, you have to understand that if you vote, or rather, you don't vote, that's a vote for Donald Trump. You vote for RFK Jr., that's a vote for Donald Trump. You vote for Donald Trump, that's a vote for Donald Trump. You vote for Biden, that is a vote against Donald Trump. The idea that you even would consider, regardless of what's happening, okay, regardless of what's happening between Israel and Hamas and Palestine, all this stuff, holding that aside, you have to acknowledge the fact that if Donald Trump were elected to be president one more time,
that all of these free Palestine movements and even people in Israel are not safe under Donald Trump's rule. Okay? This is someone who is influenced by these types of people. They are the ones who are saying this stuff, going and doing interviews on Fox News, on Newsmax, on OAN. They're on podcasts. Donald Trump hears it, talks about it, validates it, because now it's really in the news cycle as Donald Trump said this thing. And it's a snake eating its tail of misinformation and idiocy of people talking about the dumbest things possible, the most disgusting, vile things possible. And that's how it ends up turning itself into what we have as Project 2025, which is, hey, this is crazy, but what if we did this other thing? And then Donald Trump says, hey, that's pretty crazy. I'm thinking about doing this one thing. And then it causes that to be validated, and they continue to talk about it, and they come up with these fucking 10 commandments of Project 2025, which is the most fascistic thing possible. These are the things that are coming out of these people. And this guy right here, Mike Davis, is so sensitive that he can't take me quote tweeting him. That's how thin-skinned these people are. They act tough, but they're really weak. Benny Johnson, the same fucking way. Anyway, let's get back to Stormy Daniels. Now, Stormy Daniels was in court yesterday. She gave her testimony, right? There's a little bit of cross. I don't know if she's completely done. She might have to come back tomorrow, because today, Wednesday, is their day off. So I think she might have to come back tomorrow. I don't think they quite finished cross, if I remember correctly. Now, this has them scared. And the statements were coming back out yesterday, right? And look, we'll play. This is what Donald Trump has to say about his own daughter, which was brought up in court because there was a statement that he made to Stormy Daniels when they were in that room together and said, oh, you remind me of my daughter, which a little creepy when you're talking to a porn star that you're about to have sex with. Very weird to say that. Not the time or the place. Any other time, you're like, oh, you're a sweet lady. You remind me of my daughter. She also has these interests. She is pursuing these things. She's blah, 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 blah. Like any other context that was not in a bedroom, without clothes, in a sexual type of encounter. Just saying. So here we have Donald Trump giving a statement about his daughter. I think it was on.
She does have a very nice view.
The View, yeah.
I've said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. You know.
Nope, we're gonna listen to that one again. Perhaps if Ivanka wasn't my daughter, I'd be dating her. People need to understand that the stuff that he told Stormy Daniels was not an isolated event. This is not a dude who was like, you know what? I just want to acknowledge my daughter and how pretty she is, and you are pretty yourself. Again, very weird context, setting, and all of that to say that to someone who you're planning to have sex with. But it does make sense when you remember what she said about Ivanka or what she said about Tiffany, who was like 3 years old at the time. Anyway.
She does have a very nice figure. I've said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. You know.
Okay, Ivanka, what's the favorite thing you have in common with your father?
Either real estate or golf.
Donald, with your daughter?
Well, I was going to say sex, but I can't relate.
I was going to say sex, okay? The fact that his response was, what do we have in common? He's like, I was going to say sex, okay? Because I do want to fuck her, okay? I do want to have sex with my daughter, Ivanka, but, fuck it, I'll just say it. It's, oh my God. It is so gross.
If I weren't happily married and, you know, her father.
My daughter, Ivanka.
Yeah.
She's 6 feet tall. She's got the best body.
By the way, your daughter.
She's beautiful.
Can I say this? A piece of ass.
Yeah.
She looks more voluptuous than ever.
She's actually always been very voluptuous. She's tall. She's almost 6 feet. You're going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it?
She does have a very nice figure. I've said that if Ivanka weren't. She does have a very nice figure.
By the way,
it's so creepy and so weird. So again, you hear these things that we've heard before from Stormy Daniels, and it's not something new. It's not new. And it makes even more sense when you remember that this is not an isolated event. This is Donald Trump telling everyone who he is. He's saying these things not knowing that this would later come back to bite him in the ass. And so when you look at what's going on with Stormy Daniels, which is, I mean, could there be a more accurate picture? I mean, thank you very much. But when you look at, if I go to Asen, who, by the way, if you don't follow Asen, follow Asen. He's great. That and Aaron Rupar, they both got great content that they clip stuff together. I would not be able to do this show or the live show or my other show, episodic show, without the help that they give. All right, so this is Alina Habba last night, by the way.
This case is not a...
Just want to point out here, Alina Habba is Donald Trump's spokesperson. So remember before when I talked about the gag order, violating the gag order by talking about the jury and talking about attacking other people that are involved in this case, separate from the judge. Just remember that Alina Habba is his spokesperson.
Not about defamation.
Which means that what she says is speaking on behalf of Donald Trump.
It is not about a woman. It is about a record-keeping category that was frankly correct, made in Trump Tower by the Trump Organization.
This is not about record keeping. This is about Donald Trump had sex with Stormy Daniels. Then he was running for office and they tried to tie up loose ends. And they said, hey, you want to sign this NDA? You want to sign this document? You want to take this hush money? And instead of actually paying it out from Donald, because here's the thing, there's nothing illegal with paying someone hush money. If Donald Trump wanted to at the time say, hey, here's $130,000, keep it quiet, don't tell anyone. That is not illegal. Anyone can pay anyone else hush money and say, hey, don't talk about it. Silence. Accept this money. Not illegal. What is illegal is then you try to say this was a business expense to hide the fact that you paid someone off so that it would not influence the people who are looking at potentially voting for you. That is illegal. And that is why Donald Trump is in trouble. And he goes, oh, it was a business expense. Okay. I was able to touch her boobies. And then I paid her money. Not illegal. Business expense. It was an accounting problem. And that's what they want to say. He's like, oh, it was nothing. Not illegal to cheat on my wife. Not illegal. Not illegal to pay her hush money. Not illegal. But it is illegal to claim that it's a business expense when you're trying to not influence your election chances. That is election interference by using a business expense to cover it up, to hide it. Because the fear was if he paid her out $130K, the question would be, why did you pay this person $130,000? Oh, this is Stormy Daniels. Did you pay for her to have sex with you? Versus you're going to have Michael Cohen pay Stormy Daniels, and I'm going to pay you for legal expenses as my lawyer, when it turns out that's not at all what it was for.
Somebody in accounting who did nothing wrong, who's never spoken to President Trump, while President Trump was doing what? In the Oval Office running.
Oh, and I also want to point out that this stuff happened when he was in the Oval Office too, okay? All right, so like the idea that he was president and trying to use people, Hope Hicks, Michael Cohen, they're giving, we have heard stories, Hope Hicks talked about it under oath,
last week. It is not looking good.
The country. And this case is not about.
So she wants to say that it's not about blah, 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 whatever. It is, though. It is. It's
not care. They went ahead and put salacious information that was frankly false.
If it's false, then sue for defamation. If it's false, then go after this person, right? If you're claiming that what Stormy Daniels did is a lie, and you're saying she defamed me, then prove it. And yes, this happened before Donald Trump was president, but he was still involved in trying to figure this out and try to clean it up after he was president. So they tried to pay her off and they did all this stuff so they could influence his chances to have a better chance at becoming president. And then during his presidency, was still involved in trying to fix this tangled mess up. All right. So yes, it happened before, but he was still dealing with it. He was hands-on with Michael Cohen and them while he was president, which is even a bigger problem.
We know that from words that were said prior to this trial. And now we're sitting here scratching our heads wondering where taxpayer dollars are going. Also that
Alina Habba needs to shut the fuck up, because she has cost Donald Trump upwards of $500,000, right? Every case that she's been involved in, E. Jean Carroll, Letitia James case on the New York, on the Trump organization in New York, she is the reason that Donald Trump is in the position he's in terms of a court setting. She did a terrible job presenting the case. She doesn't understand how an appeals process works. She doesn't understand how when, like for E. Jean Carroll, by the way, right? First time through, hey, you are responsible for paying $5 million. You were found liable for defamation and besmudging her name, E. Jean Carroll. And by definition, in the state of New York, Donald Trump raped E. Jean Carroll. That's what's there. Okay. Then Donald Trump continues to defame E. Jean Carroll. So E. Jean Carroll and her lawyer go, okay, great. We're going to sue you again for defamation. We have already been proven with precedent that you defamed my client and that you were held liable. Then $83 million later, which was the next settlement, the next judgment. And then what happens is you've got Alina Habba going out on the street saying, this is unfair. My client isn't being treated fairly. This is unjust. I wasn't able to present my case, this and that. Well, the problem is that if she wanted to do that at that time, it should have been at the very beginning when they were first presenting the evidence on the initial case. This was just a follow-up to see what the next judgment would be. So he's embroiled in that. And then you've got Attorney General Letitia James embroiled in that case. And she was involved in that one in terms of not being able to do a good job of practicing law, right? She can barely cut vegetables. She cannot practice law, which seems to be a trend here with Trump's lawyers, or the people that associate with Donald Trump who are also lawyers, right? Mike Davis, again. Here we go.
Will say is this, Sean, when you have inconsistencies with any witness, it speaks volumes. When you pick people that are not credible, it speaks volumes.
Which is ironic, considering the fact that she's representing Donald Trump. Or again, the former, and here we go, legal spokeswoman, okay? Now, yes, the idea that I saw someone say that nice of you to say spokesperson and not liar. Yes, that is true. She is a liar. We know that.
we have many, 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 many examples of her lying, or I don't know if she's like intentionally lying, or she really just doesn't understand how like the legal process works, or how as a defendant or the appeals process. I'm not exactly sure, but she goes on TV and she acts confidently, right? And that's a trend within MAGA. They love to speak confidently, but they're all idiots. And what ends up happening is they speak long enough, they end up admitting to a crime, which is something else that I'm sure Donald Trump will end up doing, because he right now can't talk about certain aspects of this case, or can't talk about certain people in this case. And that limitation to a guy that has always been outspoken and telling everyone what he thinks on a whim, you have to remember that that type of person cannot handle being capped. So what's going to end up happening is when he does have the ability to talk, like he does an interview where he goes and does a little mini rant press conferences after and before, you know, he goes in the courtroom or whatever it might be, he's going to end up saying something that's going to influence one of these other cases that he's on right now. If you listen to what he's talking about, oh, I can't do this, I can't talk about this, blah, blah, blah. So the only way that he can do it is to talk about and vent and rant about something else. That is how he works. He loves to hear himself talk. He loves to talk about how he's the victim. And in this case right here, he's going to end up saying something that someone else is going to use against him. It could be on this case, which he did, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. He came out and was like, it was a business expense. It was this and this. Da, 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 da. It's totally legal. This is old news. This is history. This has already been adjudicated or whatever, you know. He ends up admitting to crimes that he has been a participant in. And I think this gag order, now that the gag order has been placed, the fines, and now the threat of holding him in contempt is only going to bottle this up even more, right? Because he's gonna claim he's victim. I can't talk about it because of the gag order, even though his lawyer is like nodding, like, yeah, that's right. That's not how that works. And then you got Alina Habba, who is his like pseudo, not legal, venting like channel. But we have to remember that she's the legal spokeswoman for Donald Trump. So she is going to do and say something on behalf of Trump and get herself in trouble, and then ultimately get Donald Trump in trouble.
Because when you're rushing cases, when you're bringing cases that are not true.
This case was not rushed, just like any of these other cases. Not rushed. If anything, there are more delays than I've ever seen in a court case. Look at what's happening with Eileen Cannon in Florida on the documents case. She has just indefinitely suspended that case from going forward. A Trump-appointed judge who was rushed through her appointment is now giving Donald Trump the delay that he wants and needs to actually be a part of the 2024 election without having that case to deal with. It's crazy.
When you're politically motivated, in time it will show. I always tell the American people, sit tight and wait. What we saw today was a story that I've heard for a decade that is complete garbage. And finally, the facts are coming out and the cases are falling apart like a domino, one at a time.
Again, they're not falling apart one at a time. You have a judge who was appointed by Donald Trump in Florida, a federal judge, who is deciding to delay that because she is too incompetent to figure out how to handle this case. It's really something else.
Guess what? We're seeing it now in New York. And if the American people don't see that this is solely to take him off and out, silence him, censor.
No one is censoring him. No one is silencing him. The only criteria he has to follow is not to violate the gag order, which is do not attack the jurors, do not release information, do not dox them, do not go after anyone who isn't me, the judge.
That's it. He can talk about whatever he wants, wherever he wants, but he just can't violate the gag order that is specifically contained to the people involved in the courtroom.
Him censor his people and make sure that
Again, none of his people are being censored. Case in point, Alina Habba can go onto Fox News and say whatever she wants. Now, if she violates the gag order as a spokeswoman, a legal spokeswoman for Donald Trump, that's something else. But she can say whatever she wants about whoever she wants without defaming them. And then that's what it is. These people are not silenced. It's like that clip from Death to 2020. Lisa Kudrow was playing a character that's probably pretty much based on Marjorie Taylor Greene. And you know what? Let's see if I can play it. Just to end the clip, I want to show you an example of what this what the Republican Party sounds like. Like I said, here's a clip from Death to 2020, and
voices are being silenced.
This is what Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Alina Habba all sound like. Every single one of them. I'm being silenced. I'm the victim. I'm being silenced. No, you're not. Watch this. And that is that. It's a great. If you haven't seen Death to 2020, I definitely recommend it. It's on Netflix. Death to 2021 is more of the same jokes. But Death to 2020, I thought was a great kind of encapsulation of what happened during 2020. Now, this is another example of Lisa Kudrow's character playing someone who is like Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? This idea that, and I don't know what her, again, this is all a joke, by the way. This is not real. This is all scripted. No, it's not real. It's from Death to 2020. It's all parody and satire. This is all a joke, okay? That's why I say whenever, this is from 2021, I said, whenever I hear someone's claim conservative voices are being silenced, I immediately picture Lisa Kudrow's character in Death to 2020. I recommend it. You should definitely watch it. Anyway, this is all a big joke. That's not her. She's playing a character. But it's the idea that there is, like, here's the thing. There's always, why it's fun, why things are funny is because there's truth in comedy, right? The jokes are funny because it's based and it's tethered to something true. And this example right here is exactly related. It is a fucking cycle again and again and again. This joke works because it is true in how Republicans complain about being silenced. Even like the guy who was like, let's go Brandon, the fuck Joe Biden guy, that guy. I remember when that first came out, and I think actually this is in response. Yes, here we go. Boom. This is an example right here. It was this guy, Jared Schmeck, who was on Greg Kelly and came out after people were like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. This guy said, fuck Joe Biden, which again, First Amendment, freedom of speech. You can say whatever you want. This guy said, fuck Joe Biden, FJB. This is the thing that they've been writing for the last 3 years. Okay. This is what we have. This guy, freedom of speech, can say what he wants. He went on to Greg Kelly and said, they're trying to silence me while saying it on Newsmax.
And they're trying to silence me. They do this. This is their tactic every single time something happens. It's always the same story. It's always the same game plan. And
it's not. Nobody silenced him. Fox News talked about it. Everyone interviewed him. Everyone lifted him up as a person, because remember, it was December 2021. He called in to the White House. There's a phone line where you can talk to the president and the first lady. And Jared Schmeck said, oh, yeah, let's go Brandon. And then it turned in this whole thing about, oh my God, this guy stood up to the president and told him off by saying, let's go Brandon. And it's like,
what are you doing? What are you doing? No one's trying to silence you. No one is trying to silence you. So that is why I posted this originally, saying this reminds me of 2020. So that is today's show. I want to thank everyone for showing up. It was another episode of What Was That Live? We'll be back next Wednesday on the 15th. So make sure to be here 11 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, right after Tony Michael's podcast. Make sure to check around or stick around if you would like to support the show. Please do so. You can do so on any one of these spots: Patreon, YouTube. Well, actually not YouTube anymore because I've been demonetized. Ko-Fi, Venmo, PayPal, whatever. This show runs on your support. It is made possible by viewers like you. And if you also want to subscribe, please do so. Make sure to like, subscribe, share this YouTube channel, this show, what we've got going on. New episodes will be coming out this week, so make sure to look out for those. If you're on Twitch or you didn't know I was streaming on Twitch, make sure to go follow on Twitch. Check me out at twitch.tv/I'm Gabe Sanchez. We also have a Discord where we have a live show chat in addition to what's going on YouTube and on Twitch. We also have places and other conversations happening in real time for other things. And I also want to say thank you to our wonderful moderators, because without you, the show would not be possible. I know I'm running a lot of things in the background, but seriously, they're wonderful. They're amazing. They do such great work. So please give them a thank you on your way out when you write a little comment, which I'll feature on the bottom here. So yeah, I'll see you guys next week, and make sure to check out new episodes that come out today, tomorrow, and so on and so on and so on. All right. Well, it says I will see you guys later. I got to run. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.